Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up today at 4 o'clock, your chance to win $3,000 or take the trip. We are back in Seattle and fully rehydrated, so let's start with our daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
I gotta say, it's a miracle I'm back here today, my friends. I will tell you why. Getting back to Seattle today was a massive challenge. I left Washington, D.C. last night. I had a normal flight time. And what happens? The thunderstorms that have been plaguing everything else in Washington, D.C., like the fireworks spectacular, were delaying flights. So what was supposed to be a 6:15 flight turned into a 9:30 flight, a 10:30 flight. I got home at like 2, 3 in the morning, something like that. I am so tired. I don't even know what time I got home. I basically just collapsed, went to sleep, and that was that. But had an incredible time in Washington, D.C. The bigger challenge about getting back was the amount of people trying to get on those planes last night heading for Seattle because so many people want to be here for the World Cup. And what was interesting was flying back on Alaska Airlines, there are a lot of people who are locals who are saying, I got to get back for my job. I got to get back because I need to, not for the soccer game. And they were worried about not being able to transfer flights. There was a line of people with me talking to the people at the gate about, we got to get back for our jobs, and all these people are coming for a soccer game. Can you help us out? What can we do? Anywho, got back. Thank God everything's fine. Great to be back in Washington State. Great to be back in Seattle, especially on a day like today where the streets are filled with American patriots. I didn't tell Kevin this. I'm driving to work today, and I had to take a different way because the stadiums are so blocked up. I am driving down, Mercer. I'm driving down Mercer towards the stadium, which means I had to go all the way towards the studio, which means I had to go all the way around to everything. And I'm coming that way. And there is a guy head to toe blue walking head to toe. He was not wearing a shirt. He's not wearing pants. He's basically just wearing shorts, and he is head to toe blue. Next to him, a guy who's head to toe red. Next to them, a guy who's head to toe white. And I had many jokes I want to make about that. But seeing all that walking through the streets of Seattle, really, really awesome. You can't help but feel patriotic today. And it feels like it kind of came with me from Washington, D.C. Now, I was telling you how amazing the trip was because of how much Washington, D.C. got cleaned up, but we haven't been back on air since the weekend. And there's a couple of stories I really wanted to share with you. The first one was I went to the Smithsonian yesterday. I haven't been to the Smithsonian in 10, 15 years easy. And I love the Smithsonian, all the museums on the wall of Washington, D.C. And one of the conversations is, well, what's the younger generation like? I don't know if you've ever been to the American History Museum, but if you haven't been there in like 10 years, they redid the thing. We actually have a whole story about this later because the Trump administration is mad at the American History Museum. But one of the things they have at this museum is the actual Star-Spangled Banner. The actual Star-Spangled Banner. What's left of the one from Fort McKinley, which out in Baltimore, from that War of 1812, when we were worried, are the British going to be? It was a whole thing, but the flag was still there. And that actual flag is on display. For years, they had it just basically hanging on the wall. But you go into this little room. Well, it's not a little room. It's a bigger room. And it's all in black. You can't take pictures in there. And this flag is behind glass, laid out. And they tell you the whole story about how it was kept in a bag for years, and they have the bag on display. And they tell you about who made it and how much it cost, and it cost $400. We're in this very, very dark room, me and my wife, my fill-in producer for the week. My wife is with me. And she has never been to this museum before. I'll take that back. She has been to the museum before. She didn't get to really see all of it before. So I take her. I'm like, here's the things we got to see while in this museum. We go to the Star-Spangled Banner. And as we're standing there, looking at the flag, contemplating history, we hear these tiny little voices over on the side. It's a dad and a mom and their kids. And you hear the kids start singing the Star Spangled Banner because the words are up there right behind the flag. And these little kids and these little broken voices that can't really hit some of the high notes and can't pronounce some of the other words or are messing up some of the other words because they're not entirely sure what they are. Oh, say, can you see? I mean, like, it was that kind of thing. It was adorable. And the mom and dad didn't tell the kids to do this. They just saw the flag and they saw the words and they knew this is what you do. And the older siblings started and the younger siblings. And, you know, they kind of got lost in the middle, even though the words are up there on the wall, and kind of lost track of where they were. But then at the end, I wanted to pull out my camera and film it, but there's no photography in the room, and I'm filming somebody else's children. And I didn't want to be the creepy guy who's filming somebody else's kids and then put somebody else's kids on the internet. That's a little weird. But it was adorable. Absolutely adorable. And me and my wife, as if it had been rehearsed, but it wasn't, both go, there is hope for the youth of America. I don't know what the parents' politics are. They weren't wearing MAGA gear. And believe me, this weekend in D.C., you knew everybody's politics. You really, really did. These kids are just singing the national anthem. I want to contrast that with another kid that we met. So July 4th is on Saturday. Those of you who know me, I'm an observant Jew, which means Saturday, I ain't getting in a car and I ain't doing anything electronic, and I'm doing the Sabbath. So we ran into a friend of ours at an event who we haven't seen in a while. This friend, we call him the Jewish Giant. He is 6'9". He is gigantic. You have never seen a Jew like this before in your life. And he has the white shirt and the black pants and the fringes coming out, and he's got the big velvet yarmulke on his head. He's the Jewish Giant. You can spot him a mile away. And actually, he's got a great Instagram account called The Big Picture. He's a brilliant photographer. So he was photographing an event on Friday that we saw him at, and he goes, hey, what are you guys doing for the fireworks? And we're actually, all our plans fell through for the fireworks because so many congressmen left town. We were hoping to score an invite to one of their offices so we could watch from the Capitol. He goes, why don't I pick you guys up in the afternoon? We have to set a prearranged time like it's the old school because we can't use our cell phones on the Sabbath. He goes, why don't I pick you up at a prearranged time? I'll pick you up here at your apartment, and we'll all walk together to the Marine Memorial, you know, the one where they're all raising the flag over Iwo Jima. And I said, great, that sounds fantastic. He goes, it's about an hour walk. It's 95 degrees in Washington, D.C., and now it's an hour away that we got to walk to the sucker. And I'm like, you know what? You only live once. America only turns 250 once. Let's do it. So me, my wife, and the Jewish Giant are now walking the streets of Washington, D.C. and Virginia to walk over to the Marine Memorial. As we're walking, something interesting happens. I told you how they cleaned out a lot of the homeless people, but we started seeing them in the fringes of Washington, D.C. when you cross into Virginia and some other places where they've clearly been pushed out from D.C. proper. And what was fascinating about these homeless people, it's not like our homeless people. We didn't see any Fetty folds anywhere. We saw guys with shopping carts. We didn't see any tents, but we saw crazy guys screaming at the sky. And now their new thing, yelling anti-Semitic remarks. So as we're walking along, you blanking Jew, you this. And by the way, they weren't the only ones. A few cars came by and made some comments. I'm not going to discuss which race they were. I'm not going to discuss that. But they were all the same race, which was interesting, and it wasn't white. As we're driving along, as we're walking along, we run into this dad and this kid. And the question we start asking, because we don't have GPS and we're not entirely sure where we're going, are you from here? Oh, you are. How do we get to the Marine Memorial? Okay, so here's how you do it. We run to this one dad and his son. And we go, are you guys from here? No, we're from Seattle. Okay. Oh, you're from Seattle. That's great. Now, let me tell you how I'm dressed. Shorts, polo shirt, sneakers, black MAGA hat. That's what I'm wearing. My friend the Giant, full Jew on display. Okay, that's how he's dressed. And my wife is wearing like a sundress or something. Oh, I don't even know what you call it. But it's a flowy dress because it's 95 degrees. We're all sweaty. We're all nasty. We got our backpacks with like water and stuff in them. And we meet this dad, and he's got a 10-year-old kid with him, 10, 11-year-old kid with him. I'm like, oh, Seattle, give me a fist bump, you know? All right, cool. The dad is reluctant to give me a fist bump, but the kid is all excited about it. And I realized very quickly what kind of Seattle person I am dealing with, and I realized what hat I am wearing. So the giant Jewish guy and the MAGA hat. This person clearly does not like either one of us very, very much, but they are trying to go to the fireworks, so maybe there's some American patriotism in them, maybe. And as we're walking along, this kid does not talk like he was raised by Democrats at the beginning. At first, it's like, hey, this is my old man, and me and my old man are going here, and it's really old school sound. I'm like, interesting conversation. And then he goes, yeah, we're going to the fireworks show, but we're not big on this Trumpaganda. We don't like any of this little 10-year-old kid is telling me about all of Trump's propaganda. We just want to see fireworks. We don't want to see Trump's propaganda. And I'm like, well, I hate to tell you, man, of all the stuff that's going with the fireworks. So, anywho, the dad very, very quickly had to tie his shoe, even though we were being nothing but nice to this family, to hold the kid back. Sucks for them that we actually found the short way, and then they went the long way, and later on ended up right next to us again, but that's a whole nother thing. We get to the Marine Memorial, and there's a thing called a carry-on. The carry-on is a gift from Netherlands to the United States for saving them during World War II. My friend, the Jewish giant, started asking people with accents, so did we kick your ass or did we save your ass in World War II? That's what he started saying. I was just cracking up when he was introducing himself to various people. We find a spot, and then we had the same issue the people on the mall had, where they start announcing over the loudspeakers in the park, you must evacuate. There are severe thunderstorms coming your way. Now, you can tell who are the people who followed directions during COVID and who are the people who didn't follow directions during COVID. Because a whole bunch of people picked up their stuff and started leaving. And we're like, we've been here for hours. We are not leaving this spot. In fact, what we did was we scooted a little bit farther forward for every spot that became available. We scooted a little bit farther forward, a little bit farther forward. Got a great spot. Got a great spot for the fireworks. But what happens? It starts raining. And my friend the giant and my wife go, we're going to go seek shelter in the carry-on. And I go, guys, it's a giant metal structure. And they're talking about thunder and lightning. You want to go seek shelter in the giant metal structure? And they're like, well, at least we're dry in here. And I go, you guys, there is lightning, as if God himself was trying to compete with Donald Trump's fireworks display. There was that kind of lightning. So a park ranger eventually comes over from the National Park Service because there's like 100 people there with the giant and my wife. And they're like, he says to them, he says, ladies and gentlemen, you do know you are inside a giant metal structure and we are worried about lightning. This is probably not the best place for you to be. Nobody really moved. Okay. We finally get settled down. We were out there for about 9-10 hours. We spoke to people, and everybody was happy to be there. We spoke to a group of Canadians. This country is amazing. We love it here. I mean, it's beautiful. We're from in Alberta or whatever, but this country is incredible. Throughout the day, flyover. Everybody who knows me knows that I love Seafair. This was like old Seafair. You had the Ospreys flying and hovering over the Capitol building, and you had the B-1 bomber, and you had the B-2 bomber, and you had Air Force One, the old one, the new one. It was incredible. Flyover after flyover after flyover. I wish I could take pictures, but it was a Sabbath, so I couldn't take pictures. Whole thing. Flyover after flyover. Incredible. Absolutely incredible, and everybody cheering. Not everybody in that crowd was MAGA, my friends. They weren't. But we met some great people who were fans of America. And it felt like the 1980s again. I don't know why I associate that with like the glory days of America for me in my lifetime, but that's what it felt like, where everybody was excited to be there. And what happens is after the Sabbath is over and we can use electronics and stuff again, after that's over, you can't really get a cell signal out where we were because there's 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. Nobody can get a cell signal. I'm trying to load up the president's speech. I'm trying to get this thing loaded, and little pieces are coming through. Like I got to hear his message about communism, but overall it's a lot of skipping, like you're going through a tunnel while you're driving and listening to the Ari Hoffman show. It was a lot like that. There's a guy right near me. he was managing to pull up the little quotes from Trump's speech on Twitter or Truth Social or whatever it is, and he's doing them in a Trump accent. And everybody's clapping and everybody's laughing because we can make fun of Trump and we love him and the stuff that he says is great. But everybody's having a great time. Whether they agree with us politically, whether they disagree with us politically, whether they're just there for the fireworks. And that was the America I love. On full display. Nobody around us was from Washington, D.C. Nobody was. Everybody came from somewhere else, but they were all there to celebrate America's birthday in the 95-degree heat, followed by the thunderstorms, followed by the rain, followed by more thunderstorms, followed by the rain, followed by massive humidity in 95 degrees again. Oh, and windstorms. I forgot the windstorms that started blowing everybody's tents and umbrellas and everything else away. It was amazing. It was amazing. And I contrast that with these communists that want to destroy everything America has made. This next election for the midterms is not going to be between Democrats and Republicans. There is no more Democrat Party. It's not a socialist party either. It is a communist party. That is what it is. Why? Because even the old school Democrats are saying, well, we need a big tent to defeat Trump, as if the talking points have already gone out. We need a big tent to take back Congress and take back this and take back that. They have given up their party. They have surrendered without a shot being fired because they are so afraid of losing power. And just like I said on my trip, it's like Princess Leia to Governor Tarkin. The more you tighten your grip, Tarkin, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. And that is exactly what we see happening in the Democrat Party right now. I didn't see anybody who was a fan of communism at this thing. I spoke to some people who are Democrats. Over the entire weekend that I was there, I went to a Friday night dinner for Sabbath, and there were tons of Democrats there. Like some deep state people were at this thing. And we're having conversations about their work in the Biden White House and this and that. But they're still common sense people. This election is going to be between common sense and crazy. Common sense and crazy is what this election is going to be about. The dad who, even though his kid was wired on Trumpaganda, that dad still wanted to go see the fireworks show. That dad still hauled his kid, and they were hiking from about as far as we were, and they came from Seattle, Washington for the fireworks show. The people who go, it's between common sense and crazy. It's fascinating to watch that. Really fascinating to watch that happen before my eyes because I met such salt of the earth people. There was a guy, and his camera was blocking my view because I just happened to set up behind him. I didn't realize he was putting up a tripod. You know what he did after we were done with the day? He sent me a DM. He goes, here's all the video footage. Here's all the video footage. And in fact, here's a version of the entire fireworks show in 60 seconds. That was a 40-minute thing. He just sent it all to me. I gave him he sent me the whole thing. Send me the whole thing. My wife wasn't feeling so good after the 9 hours in the heat and everything else like that. Somebody else goes, here, this chair here is for you. People giving each other water, people giving each other food, people giving each other wine, people giving each other whatever they wanted. That is the America I know and love. It was so amazing to be part of that. And there are people like the Zoran Mamdanis and all his crazy band of lunatics who are trying to tear it down. And it is so sad to me that so many Democrats in power, they don't even represent the Democrats they claim to represent because those Democrats go, why don't you stand up for our party? Our party is not the Socialist Party. Our party is not the Communist Party. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries. Why aren't you standing up for our party? Why aren't you standing up for our politics? Those votes are in play. Those are the votes that are in play. The people who may disagree with us on healthcare and may disagree with us on Social Security and may disagree with us on a whole bunch of stuff, but they say, we are not the Socialist Party. We are not the Communist Party. What are you doing? The people who love our country and have a difference of opinion are much closer to Republicans than they've ever been before in our country's history. If you want to win elections in Washington, you say, those are the people who hit you with a massive income tax. Those are the people who want boys playing in girl sports. Those are the people who want you not to have parental rights. And that's why you see Let's Go Washington is bringing so many signatures of people who are not Republicans. I think the last time I checked, it was 60-40. Democrats to Republicans of the ones who signed The initiatives. You want to win this election? It's the difference between common sense and crazy. A new poll came out over the weekend, and this is one we've heard a few times before. And it basically says Democrats' pride in being American swings with who is president. Republicans, it pretty much stays the same the whole time. You have to find those Democrats who don't budge, who are proud of America no matter what, and say the communists and the Marxists, and don't call them socialists because that's not what they are. They're jihadis. They are Marxists. They are communists. They are trying to destroy America, and they are not making any secret about it. Do you want to save America? You want to keep America? You want to destroy America? That's what this election is going to come down to. That's what it's going to come down to. And also, I'll tell you something. From those 10 minutes I was in the Washington State booth giving out the KVI constitutions and the American flags. Kevin, I think I took about 100 flags with me when I went. I just grabbed these massive handfuls of them. I think it was about 100 flags I took with me. I took a few less constitutions, but I had this box of everything in it. I stood in that Washington State booth, 7 minutes and 30 seconds. They were all gone. 7 minutes and 30 seconds. So for everybody who's saying there was nobody at this thing, people were coming to the empty booths looking for free stuff. That's how many people were at this thing. It was 105 degrees. Everybody was inside during this thing.
I know it was 7 minutes and something because you sent me the audio, and unfortunately, I didn't have time to put it on air. But you weren't joking when you sent it. I was like, wow.
7 minutes and 30 seconds. I will tell you, I trimmed a little here and there so it would flow easier. Let's say, for sake of argument, it was 10 minutes. Let's say I got rid of 100 flags in 10 minutes inside that booth. That's how many people were swarming the empty booths of Washington and Oregon. That was crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Well, let's hope some of them are listeners here in Washington State with their little sticker that says KVI.
Funny you should mention it. We'll discuss that more as the show continues, some of the people I met through my trip. Also, the World Cup is back in town, and there's a massive protest plan for today that we actually agree with. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show back in Seattle on Talk Radio 570 KVI. As much as we joke about the World Cup, it is pretty awesome to have all these American patriots in town cheering on Team USA. And I believe the game starts in a little over 90 minutes for right now. Our friend Scott Carty, who's a reporter for our sister station, Northwest News Radio, did a little hit about what it's like marching in that parade in downtown today on the way to the stadium.
Ari, I am in the march to the match. We just made it to Yesler, and we're going into Pioneer Square, getting ever closer to Seattle Stadium. We are just surrounded in red, white, and blue. People are waving their flags, constant chants of USA bursting out. America, the beautiful, the Star-Spangled Banner, you name it. It's surely a continuation of the 4th of July, and the fans are just having a great time. It is families of all ages. I talked to one little guy who's going to his very first soccer game ever, and this is it. I asked Dad if he had any money left for college, and he said, nope, but it's all about experiences. In Seattle, in the parade, Scott Carty.
No money left for colleges. By the way, I am judging some friends of mine who told me they have tickets to this game. I know which ones got them as favors. I know which ones paid for them. And I will tell you this, the next synagogue fundraiser, I will be calling you out for being at the World Cup. I know what you spent on that. The next time I see you at a political fundraiser and I'm trying to get blood from a stone to get money for the Republican Party, I will say, I saw your pictures from the World Cup, and I know you had a box at the World Cup, and I know it wasn't a favor. I will be calling that in. It is amazing to be surrounded by all these patriots. I'm actually hoping to be going down there after the show today. Our friends at Northwest News Radio, 101.5 Hank FM, and we are going to have a KVI tent down there too. They're down on Occidental today. So I think after the show today, I'm going to head down there. However, not everybody is happy about the World Cup. In fact, a lot of people in Chinatown are blaming Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson for Chinatown getting worse. Now, you may think to yourselves, guys, it's always like that. Well, yes, Democrats absolutely destroyed Chinatown over the last 2 decades. But Katie Wilson and crew shoved everybody over to Chinatown to clear up the stadium area for the World Cup. Our friend Jonathan Cho from the Discovery Institute has the report for us about why people from Chinatown are protesting today.
We are in the midst of FIFA World Cup. Today is match day, and this area has not seen the amount of people that we were hoping for. Not only are locals not coming, but the tourists are not coming. All the businesses are operating at a loss this month.
All right, I'm outside the World Cup Stadium here in Seattle. Chinatown ID leaders are absolutely irate.
We are seeing people who are addicted to drugs, who are engaged in drug use.
Now, hang on a second. I'm just going to interrupt the video for a second here. If you're watching the video itself, it is showing that 12th and Jackson has gotten worse. You remember Katie Wilson was saying, oh, we're going to send cops over there. It's going to get so much better. The area which I stood in where I wasn't that worried is now covered with addicts. It used to be this one corner, the southwest corner of 12th and Jackson was a really bad part. That whole neighborhood wasn't great. But that southwest corner was, now it seems like it's every corner around there in this video.
They're blaming the mayor, Katie Wilson, for allowing homeless drug addicts to totally decimate the community. In fact, she's also being accused of pushing some of them into this community.
Just minutes from the Seattle World Cup Stadium. Now we're entering Chinatown ID.
I spoke to a couple of tourists from South Korea, and they consider CID in Little Saigon as no-go zone.
I feel bad what's going on up there in Fulton Jackson, the CID. They just push all the homeless and the drug addicts up there.
Mayor Wilson said there would be zero tolerance for open-air drug use and the sales of stolen goods at the corner of 12th and Jackson. The moment she put out that press release, we saw a few cops there, just setting up, and it cleared out. But just after a few days, no more police, and it's a free-for-all.
The mayor is an activist. She comes from that background, and she keeps talking about DEI, equity. This is an Asian American, historically marginalized community. Why do you think she's doing this to Chinatown ID?
I think her past has just been on a much smaller scale with transit and not with a much larger scope as a city the size of Seattle. And it's just overwhelming her. She's I guess, has her hands full, but we're not asking her to take care of Colton Jackson. She has the ability to assign it to somebody, maybe the police chief, and just say, hey, you got 1 month to take care of it, or I'll find somebody else.
We will no longer be taken advantage of by white city leaders who only come to the CID for dim sum. We are more than just here for your entertainment.
I love that line. White city leaders who just come to the CID for dim sum. And let's be real, they ain't going to the CID for dim sum. They're going to Bellevue. Let's be real about this for a minute. It's a minority community calling out these white progressives for destroying their part of Seattle. Now, we're going to check in with Jonathan. We're going to check in with young Zach. We're going to check in with Andrea Suarez. We're going to check in with a lot of people today about if that protest happened, where they went, what the reaction was. And here's something else I want to do. I actually want to call Jonathan after the World Cup is over, and I want to do another Doom Loop tour. I want to bookend this. What we saw before, what we saw after, and how quickly that population starts trickling back into Seattle. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. More drama around Graham Plattner, the guy with the Nazi tattoo. Apparently, there's more credible allegations against him, and he might be dropping out of the race this week. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Graham Plattner, the oyster farmer from Maine, whose only customer was his mother, the oyster Gruppenführer, who has the Nazi tattoo on his chest. Graham Plattner, the guy who apparently gets really excited about the blue liquid in outhouses and porta potties. Graham Plattner, the guy who apparently likes texting really awful stuff to women. Graham Plattner, the guy who likes doing awful stuff to women. Graham Plattner, the guy who allegedly likes beating women. Well, it was just really a question of when the other shoe was going to drop. How many more of these allegations were going to come in. And after allegation after allegation after allegation, for months, Graham Plattner has been asked, is there anything else? Is there anything else? Is there anything else? And he keeps saying no. You need a montage. Even Rocky had a montage.
I'm wondering, are there other skeletons from your past that still may emerge in this race?
No.
But the GOP is going to dig up everything and more that they can.
Yeah, and probably lie at some point. I mean,
is there something new you want to get ahead of?
No.
People have to take you at your word that that's true and that there's nothing else. Is that what you are saying?
Yes.
Okay. So he says there's nothing else. From Politico. Hang on. Let me go to my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. Let's see what I got here. Daily Wire, Daily Caller, Fox News, Newsmax, KVI. I do not have Politico in my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. A woman who dated Maine U.S. Senate candidate Graham Plattner says he forced her to, you know what, you got kids in the car, nearly 5 years ago, despite her repeated objections. The woman, a 41-year-old Maine resident named Jenny Resicott, now mind you, she went public with her name where others didn't, detailed the allegations to Politico in 3 interviews over the past 2 weeks. Politico also spoke with a man that she dated and confided in the years after the alleged incident, reviewed documents, including emails between her and her therapist and messages between Resicott and an acquaintance whom she warned against getting involved with Plattner years before he ran for office. So there is a trail here. I am not going to say the graphic details of this because you are with your kids in the car. Suffice it to say, it's very, very graphic what he allegedly did. Very, very bad that he forcefully did to this woman. Well, he was asked to address this. So what happens is there are rumors coming out that he is about to suspend his campaign. Rumors all over the place that he's going to be announcing that he is dropping out of the race. Now, before you get too excited, if he drops out before July, I forget if it's 13th or 15th. If he drops out before July 13th or 15th, the Democrats can just pick somebody to fill his spot, even though he was elected in a primary. So they're going to Joe Biden him. I told you this was going to be the new mantra, and it's not because of the allegations. Do you know what else is going on? I looked up his fundraising. Turns out when you run a guy who's got a Nazi tattoo and a history of doing awful things to women, turns out he can't pull in as much money as it needs to be competitive. Susan Collins, the most moderate member of the Republican Party, has been out fundraising him. The GOP has been out fundraising him. So basically, this isn't because he had a Nazi tattoo. This isn't because he did dirty things in outhouses. This isn't because he did horrible things to women. It's because he can't fundraise. So because he can't win. Just like with Joe Biden. It's not because Joe Biden was senile. It's not because Joe Biden was terrible. Not because of any of that. It's because Joe Biden couldn't win. And now the Democrats want to replace him. Remember what Ro Khanna said a month ago? Ro Khanna, far left progressive. Remember what he said about Graham Plattner just a month ago?
Are you confident all the damaging info is out?
That's what he says. My sense is before the primary, a lot of this has come out. Obviously, look, if there was evidence of violence, I would not support him. If there was evidence of sexual assault, I'd have zero support for him.
Well, are you going to come out and denounce him? Today's a great day. Politico. Politico is not Fox News. Politico is not Newsmax. Politico is not the Ari Hoffman Show. Politico is a far left outlet. And yet they have these allegations. The New York Times had these allegations. The New York Post had these allegations. How many more do you need? Are you going to admit you screwed up or just move on? Chuck Schumer endorsed him. Elizabeth Warren endorsed him. Every member of the Democrat Party endorsed this guy. Why are they dumping him now? Not because he's a scumbucket, not because he's a terrible human being, because he can't fundraise. And if you can't fundraise, that means you can't win. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the week this guy drops out and the Democrats go, here is who we have anointed, and her name is Kamala. No, I'm just kidding. It won't be Kamala Harris. But whoever it is that they can find to fill in this spot, that is what they are going to do. So those of you who are like, yes, we don't have to worry about the Senate anymore. Democrats will be up to their same old dirty tricks as usual. Just give them time. Up next, my friends, Democrats not proud to be American, not proud of 4th of July, and having complete breakdowns over celebrating Independence Day. We'll tell you what you missed this weekend when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I love Gasworks Park for 4th of July. I was really privileged that for years, my company, when I used to do event rentals, had the contract with Seafair to do all the bounce houses out of Gasworks Park for the fireworks show. And the last year I had the company, it was right before COVID, one of the heads of Seafair came up to me and said, what are you doing right now? I'm like, just waiting for the show, because we packed up everything and we're going to load everything once everybody leaves. He says, come with me. He takes me over to where they're pushing the buttons for the fireworks, where they're launching the fireworks, and that was my view of the Gasworks Park show. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. I love the Gasworks Park show. It really is. If you're not going to see Washington, D.C. at 2:50 or whatever it is, this is a close second. I really do love it. Seattle does a great job with that. Seafair does a great job with it. This year it was sponsored by Amazon. And what happens, for those of you who don't know how it works, Gasworks Park is this big park that used to have this big refinery factory thing on it. That's the thing that's been in the news about people climbing and dying on the thing. That's a Darwin Award. That's for a different time. But it's a beautiful park. It's a great location, and it's right on Lake Union. So the fireworks are set off over Lake Union. You get a beautiful view of the city. It's gorgeous. It's wonderful, especially on a perfect day. Well, because the thing was sponsored by Amazon, a whole bunch of Hamasniks showed up, and they claimed, we disrupted the fireworks show. Now, I didn't see this until Sunday when I was sitting on the tarmac in 90-degree heat for like an hour before they decided to kick us all off the plane before they flew us back here. So I see this video. I'm like, if they disrupted it, I think I would have heard about that in the news. So I go to Como. Anything about pro-Hamas protests or Antifa protests or anything? Nothing. I go over to King 5. Nothing. I go to every single outlet. Not a mention of this. Because these Looney Tune morons, the handful of them showed up. Some of them showed up in kayaks. And some of them showed up with banners. But people were booing them in Seattle. Like, it's 4th of July, guys. You're mad at Amazon for God knows what. Whatever the voices in your head told you today. So you showed up on America's birthday to protest for the terrorist group that wants to destroy America. Yeah, good luck with that, guys. Sir, this is a Wendy's, okay? What are you doing here? Nobody really noticed. And on social media, we disrupted it. It's the middle of the afternoon. You didn't accomplish anything. For those of you who don't know, people sit out there for hours. I used to get there at like 5 o'clock a.m. to start setting up my stuff with the bounce houses and stuff, even though it had been set up 2 days ago, just to make sure we got all the money and we got the card readers and I got the staff. They don't let anybody in till 2 o'clock these days. 2 o'clock. People sit there for hours and hours and hours waiting for their spots. All you guys did were annoying. That's all you really accomplished. Now, they weren't the only lunatics. I don't know if you saw this at Cal Anderson Park. Our friends over at Seattle Submissions had this video. Some lunatics started a fire in the middle of the AstroTurf at Cal Anderson Park, former site of the deadly 2020 autonomous zone, and start throwing in lime bikes. Now, I know they're death scooters, but you don't need to light them on fire. Here's something else. Usually, the Antifa types and those guys, aren't they all about climate change? Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't there really big batteries inside these? And aren't they solar powered? Don't they charge in the sun? So this is what you want. Electrically powered transportation that's not a car. And you're lighting them on fire. Seattle Submissions had a picture of this afterwards. They had a video of the bonfire, which I shared over on X. You can find it at the Hoffather over there on X, with this big bonfire and them literally throwing in like a bunch of heathens the lime scooters. Look, I hate those things. I really, really do. I'm not going to light them on fire. And they are your way of thinking, and they just want chaos. They just want anarchy. Now, here's something else about this that I got an issue with, that they're doing this on July 4th. Kevin can fact check me on this, but Kevin, aren't they across from a police station right there? Literally, the East Precinct, the one that was abandoned, is right across from the soccer field. Was nobody working on July 4th to come over and stop this? Because I reached out to the Seattle Police Department, and they acted like it was brand new. Like, this is the first we're hearing of this. Do you know when I reached out to them? Sunday night, while trapped on a tarmac in 90-degree heat on my cell phone when I was scrolling through my video. That's when I saw this thing. Kevin, you have your own history with the Doom scooters. I don't think you want to light them on fire, do you?
No, I mean, I can't really blame the Doom scooters. It's the choices I'd make and I guess the path I create and I choose to take while riding these things. I see. And maybe some of the things I imbibe in.
I got you. Okay, so you don't hold it against the scooters themselves.
It's
I
me.
Understand.
I'm the problem. It's me.
You're the problem. It's you. Thank you, Taylor Swift. I think what I'm going to do is after the show, maybe this time I'm going to take the monorail to the light rail to head down to this, and maybe a little safer than the death scooter to go down there.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't have my helmet with me. Didn't bring that. And I'm not very adept at this, and everybody else. Well, actually, the game's going to be started by then, so I don't really have to compete with everybody else in the bike lanes, right?
No. Yeah, the game, it'll be
halfway through.
It'll be halfway through the thing.
Halfway
yeah,
through. So, yeah, I'll go down there for the after party time. We'll do that. But I'll get down there in time for something. But, yeah, the fact that the Seattle Police Department is acting like this is news when it literally happened across from the precinct. Talk about defunding the police. You don't have enough officers to go check this out? This wasn't the only insane July 4th stuff. This one's great. You ready for this one? According to the Post Millennial, in a post commemorating the nation's 250th Independence Day, Alex Soros, that's George Soros's crazy son, who's even worse than him, shared photos of himself and his wife, Huma Abedin. Man, that woman really gets around the Democrat Party, doesn't she now? Alongside the caption, Happy 250th Birthday, America, I'll never loving it. Wait a second. What? Happy 250th birthday, I'll never loving it. You know what that means? He means to write, I'll never stop loving it, and instead said the quiet part out loud. So everybody said it was more than a Freudian slip. Now, he deleted the post and reposted it with, I'll never stop loving it. But I think you said the quiet part out loud. Meanwhile, here's another one. They have a Benjamin Franklin lookalike contest every year in Philadelphia. This year, a black woman won. Okay, I have a few questions here about your wokeness. I looked at her costume, by the way. Hey, Heidi Klum can transform herself for 4th of July. So maybe some woman did some crazy makeup or something and looks like Ben Franklin. Before I saw the pictures, I was willing to give them benefit of the doubt.
I was going to say, we got whiteface involved in this, or what's going on here?
No.
Oh,
no.
okay.
If it was that, by the way, I don't care about that. Okay, I really don't. I'm fine with
say
it.
you did.
Right. No, I'm just saying. Well, whatever. Well, that's a whole nother topic. Neither here nor there. But what happens? She got one of those crappy, what is it, like Party City costumes, pre-bagged costumes with the stupid bald cap, which isn't even on well. It's really not. And she won with that. There are people there in Philadelphia, it was as hot as D.C. There are people there in the 105-degree heat who literally went and sewed themselves revolutionary period costumes. People who look like Ben Franklin. And they picked the black woman in the cruddy costume for the look-alike contest. Wokeness run amok. Up next, my friends, big layoffs hit our part of the world. Not great for the tech sector around here. Tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, give us a call or a text on the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, more daycare fraud exposed in Washington. And Zach will be checking in with us live from the World Cup. But before we get to any of that, my friends, it is time for your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. That's right, my friends. We are giving away this week a trip to New York City or $3,000 in cold, hard cash. Now, all you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you for your chance to win. Don't text your name. Don't text your phone number. Don't say, Ari, what an amazing tan you got in Washington, D.C., but you look pretty red. It's like more red than tan. Don't text that, and don't say, Ari, you got to put more sunscreen on your head next time because you don't have as much hair as you used to. Don't text that in either. Just the word itself to the number I give you. And now that we have the appropriate mood music from our in-house Pink Floyd cover band, text the word cash, C-A-S-H, to 206-421-5757, as in, I wish I had more cash here in Washington because the government's going to take all my cash. Text the word cash, C-H-A-S-H. Read the paper, Hoffman. C-A-S-H. Text the word cash to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 for your chance to win. Your next chance to win comes up at 8 o'clock tomorrow. This one here from the 425 about our last story about the fires at Cal Anderson Park, of them lighting the Lime scooters on fire. The people at Cal Anderson were idiots. Those things have lithium polymer or lithium ion batteries, and all they need to do is puncture them, and they'll burn as hot as the sun. They don't need a fire to start it. Which is probably pretty true. Probably true. Mike says, but hey, the plastic toxins released by the burning AstroTurf, when inhaled, stay in the lungs permanently and are highly carcinogenic. Yeah, but it's all worth it for the cause, right? I burned a Lime scooter. And here's something else. Kevin, I know that you and I both had wayward youths. I mean, as much as we joke about our wayward youths, we weren't that bad. But like stealing street signs or things like that, that was like the limit of my wayward youth, really. We didn't light things on fire unless they were like firecrackers, right? We didn't really do the fire thing.
Yeah, I was going to say I didn't really have any sort of pyro sorts of, I mean, no. I had a moment where, in high school, we have Boom City, which is the Tulalip reservation that sells a bunch of not so legal fireworks.
Yes.
So I had a moment with that, but actually lighting things on fire to just see what would happen. I didn't have that gene.
That wasn't our jam. And you know, some of my friends were pyros, but they were always lighting like little pits of grass. They weren't saying, hey, if I light a bike on fire, what's going to happen to it? You know, it wasn't, oh, let's light a bus stop on fire. Not that.
We would always tease my little brother because he got a little too excited when fireworks season came around, so we'd call him the pyro. Mm-hmm. But nothing. No, not really. Not really into burning things.
Every group has a pyro, but the pyro's always sitting there with like a stick. Like, hey, let me light this sucker on fire. Or they're the one who's at the wedding with the candle. Bar mitzvah, not wedding. Bar mitzvah. They're the one with the candle at the table, and they're trying to be like, hey, I can burn the invitation or whatever it is, right? They're not trying to burn the tablecloth. Well, maybe the napkins, not the tablecloth, right? Kevin knows what I'm talking about. Speaking of burning things down, by the way, Turd Ferguson, the Democrats have done a phenomenal job destroying our city and state. Today we find out. I woke up this morning. The alarm let out a warning. I thought I would never make it on time after my 3 a.m. home time last night. I took a look at my cell phone, and I saw that I had gotten a warn notice that Microsoft was going to be laying people off. I also got an update from Microsoft that they were going to be laying people off. Microsoft will be eliminating 4,800 jobs. 4,800 jobs, approximately 2.1% of its total workforce worldwide, according to the company itself. Now, I got to give you a little insider baseball here. There is a person who a very, very long time ago, was part of the talk radio scene here in Washington. Kevin's wheels are going to start turning, and he's going to start trying to figure out who it is because this person was here. Kevin's been in the talk radio scene a really long time. This person was not at our company. They were at a different company. But this person was deemed the leftist answer to a right commentator. And this person now does PR stuff for a big company that does computer stuff that may have 4 squares as its logo. That's what they do now. And do you remember about, 7, 8 months ago, we were talking about how Brad Smith, the CEO of Microsoft, was talking about how things weren't great for Microsoft and it was a bad business environment. And hey, we might be thinking about leaving. I did that story on air. I posted about it. I wrote articles about it. I shared it on social media. This individual has never liked me. Even before I was in talk radio, this person did not like me. And I never met this person, by the way. I don't know this person. But this person, when I was running for office, for example, would come at me with different things all the time, bash me behind my back. I guess they're that much of a lefty Democrat. And so what happened was they go, "You're lying about Microsoft. I helped develop the plan for expansion, and they're not going anywhere." I go, "Dude, this isn't me. This is your CEO. No. You're taking his comments out of context. Out of context." I'm like, "Dude, this is what he said. You want to keep calling me a liar? You can, but this is what the dude said. I'm just quoting the dude. Microsoft's never going to leave. Microsoft's not going to do this. Blah, 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 blah." Well, I guess we know why this person doesn't have a radio show anymore. Anyway, what happened today? Microsoft announced these close to 5,000 jobs are being eliminated. It's not because of AI. It's because of Xbox. Maybe, we should discuss the Xbox thing for a second, okay? I went to the Museum of American History yesterday at the Smithsonian when I was in D.C., and I almost cried because in the entry hall, they have all this stuff for pop culture, stuff to try and lure you in. Like, our museum is going to be cool. Look at all this stuff. And I look in one of the display cases, and the first thing I see is a Super Nintendo system. An original Super Nintendo entertainment system, the one with Duck Hunt and the one with Mario and all that is in the display case. And I'm like, I feel a gajillion years old.
Well, you mean just the Nintendo Entertainment System?
Oh, right. You're right.
That's
You're right.
The one
it
with
was
Duck Hunt.
the OG.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep.
You're right. It was the original Nintendo Entertainment System.
And that would make sense because that had such a huge impact on the video game market.
Right. The Super Nintendo was the one with the hovercraft racing game.
Correct.
Right. You're right. You're right.
Yep.
I screwed that up.
That's all right.
It was the original one. I remember when my father came home with that for Hanukkah. And I never had Duck Hunt, but I played that Mario till the cartridge had to be blown into every 10 seconds, which probably made it worse.
Yeah, me and my brothers always kind of make fun of my parents or kind of jab them with the fact that we had to move that year.
Mm-hmm.
They moved us from up to Lake Stevens from the small town that we lived in. We were devastated. But for Christmas, they got us the NES system, the full blown with Duck Hunt, Super Mario Brothers, and Robbie the Robot.
Oh yes,
yeah, with gyroscope.
That's more rare than the Power Pad and the Power Glove. That's more rare than that.
So we were like, "You were just trying to buy us off, weren't you?" And they were like, "Well, we felt really bad that we had to move you."
Yes.
But yeah, that was a huge Christmas at the old residence.
That was a huge. If you got one of those for Christmas, you were the kid. Here, you want to hear something funny? We used to play Contra with the kids down the street.
Oh yeah,
kids down the street, Sajid and Saad, 2 Muslim kids that we were friends with, that we used to play Contra with all the time. That's right, Jews and Muslims working together to fight the commies. That's right. That's what it was. It was great. Anyway. When I saw that thing in that container, I'm like, first of all, how much of a write-off could I have gotten by donating my system to the Smithsonian, right? That must be a massive tax write-off. Now it's a historical artifact, probably worth a little something on the tax write-off. I think we still have that somewhere around. That would have been huge. I would have given it to them with the original Mario right next to it, right? Or Zelda. I hated Zelda. I never liked that game. My favorite games, Contra, Double Dragon 2. Those are my 2 favorite games for the Nintendo.
Well, of course, because you don't have the patience for a game like Zelda. You're too
It's
you
not
can't
my
sit.
jam.
Yeah.
It's not my. Also, I didn't understand it.
You're
I
just
really
trying to
didn't understand what
discover
you're trying
stuff.
to do. Yeah,
That's what I mean. You have no patience.
No, I want to blow stuff up. I want to blow stuff up. I want to erase things. I want to fly things.
Well, that's how you found things. You blew up walls, you blew up shrubs, and then you're like, oh, look at this. It's a doorway to a dungeon.
I never liked that game. I never liked that game. Anywho, Nintendo. There. Why am I mentioning the Nintendo? Because Xbox. Kids ain't playing video games the same way they used to. Do you know why they're not playing the Xbox the same way they used to? Because they got the stupid games on their phone. Or they're busy watching clips, 30-second clips on Instagram on their phone. This is the new thing they're zombified by, their phones. Xbox ain't what it used to be. I know everybody still does the online gamers and the people with the chairs and the headsets and the cockpits in their living rooms and all that insanity. I know it still exists. But it's not like it used to be. Now, if you're going to make a whole bunch of cuts to Microsoft, where are you going to make those cuts? Where it's most expensive to operate. 605 of those jobs right now are from our area. 605. Now, this isn't the end of it. We know there's going to be more of these from Microsoft because they literally said so. But we know that at least 605 of them are from our area. Why would you choose our area? Oh, because you get paid. You have to pay more taxes on those super high-end jobs? Yeah. I saw this article while I was gone from the Seattle Times. Somebody sent it to me. As downtown Seattle offices empty, city facing years of zombie towers. Now, if you read this article by Paul Roberts, the Seattle Times business reporter, you will look at this and go, oh, he's talking about the fact that you have these giant, beautiful buildings that are now empty because so many tenants are gone. Talking about how bad it actually is, the city's office economy is in free fall. Since 2020, downtown office properties have lost a staggering $15 billion, or 46% of their value, and are generating $128 million less in property taxes, according to data from the King County Assessor's Office. Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Haven't we been doing this story for months now? Literally since, I don't know, before January, before the legislative session? Wow, Seattle Times finally woke up to a story. I'm so glad we were able to do the research for you guys. So glad we were able to do that. But you're the paper of record that's stopping me, trying to fund this lawsuit, stopping me, Brandy Cruz, and Jonathan Cho from having press passes. We now have 37% office vacancy rate. The last time we checked in on this number, 33%. I think it's going in the wrong direction. In fact, you ready for this? Let's just do the top 5, shall we? New York's vacancy rate, 22%. U.S. average, 23%. San Francisco, 31%. Los Angeles, 32%. Seattle, 37%. Woo! We're number 1. Woo! Oh, wait, this is a really, really horrible, bad thing. And I do love this. Some commentators have blamed the downtown office apocalypse on Seattle's taxes, anti-business rhetoric, and perceptions of public safety. They say it's true that Seattle is losing office tenants to more business-friendly, less frayed downtowns like Bellevue's. So you're saying I'm right. The commentators. Yes. Sorry, I didn't know John Carlson came out of retirement and somebody else came back from the dead to do the commentators. Oh, no. No. We're 25%. What are they saying? The biggest culprit, however, is the tech sector. I'm sorry. Can we stop right there? Why is the tech sector hiring people in Nashville? Why are they hiring people in Florida? Why are they hiring people elsewhere, but they're not hiring them here? They're laying them off here, Seattle Times. You can admit I was right. You don't have to say Ari Hoffman. You can keep it with commentators. I'm not the only one. You can keep it with that. But we all know what's going on. If they're hiring in Bellevue, right, and they're not hiring in Seattle, why do you think that is? If they're hiring in Nashville and they're not hiring in Washington, why do you think that is? When Amazon announces another 57 layoffs today in this area, but they're still hiring on the East Coast and elsewhere, why do you think that is? So when you say the bigger culprit, though, is the tech sector. Who has the high-paying jobs? Why are they laying off all these people? Well, you would think, with prices going up and things being tight, maybe now is not the best time for raises. No, my friends, according to the Washington State Standard, Governor Turd Ferguson received they didn't write turd. I'm paraphrasing what they wrote there. Governor Turd Ferguson received a 7% raise on Wednesday. Combined with a similar size pay bump a year ago, his annual salary is $234,275, roughly $30,000 more than when he took the oath of office as Washington's 24th governor in January of 2025. The Washington Citizens Commissions on Salaries for Elected Officials, a panel established by voters in 1987, ended the practice of politicians deciding their own pay. The panel of unelected individuals from across the state approved a new, unelected individuals from across the state. You mean like Sound Transit? Oh, do you think maybe these are just appointed by people in office so then maybe they can just keep giving themselves raises? Like, for example, hey, I'm going to buy KVI. And that way I can give myself a raise every year. That's what we'll do. We'll just do that, right? That'll be fantastic. Well, it's the same thing, guys. It's the exact same thing. They agreed to give members of the legislature, the executive and judicial branches, an across-the-board cost of living adjustment of 3% on July 1st, 2025, and 2% on Wednesday. That's what thousands of state workers secured in collective bargaining agreements. So while their tax revenue is going down, while they're voting for more taxes on you, they gave themselves raises. Legislatures got an extra 5% on Wednesday for a total increase of 7%. That's on top of a 6% boost a year ago. A lawmaker now earns $72,494,000, roughly $10,000 more than 2 years ago. Hang on. They earn $72,494 for one legislative session. Guys, can we recap this for a second? How long are the legislative sessions here in Washington? Well, a long one is like 3 months, but a short one is a month. You're getting $72,000 for an average of roughly 60 days worth of work. But, Ari, we have to campaign. No, that's because you want the $72,000. You are getting $72,000 for roughly 60 days worth of work, average, every year. That's who wouldn't take that? Who wouldn't take that amount of money? So while they are taxing you, they are using that money for fraudsters and to pay themselves. Ugh, makes you want to absolutely vomit. When we come back, my friends, all that Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. It is so great to be back here. Aside from the fact that it's 30 degrees cooler here in Seattle than it was in Washington, D.C., I missed you guys. I really did. I like interacting with you guys on the phone lines. I like interacting with you guys on the text lines. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here from Mike. He says, back in the 1970s, Kodak and Xerox both begged my dad to come work for them. He declined. His reasoning was that they both came up pretty fast and they were going to go down the same way. He was correct. Mike, I'm not so sure about that. We got a lot of years out of Xerox and Kodak. Kodak was around for decades, literally decades. Xerox, okay, Xerox still around. They're still, officially, Xerox is still around. So, okay, I mean, I think it would have taken care of his career, those things. Those are pretty good brands. They did pretty well. They did pretty okay for a very, very, I hear your point, though. I mean, look, even Blockbuster, right? You might want to say Blockbuster was a flash in the pan. Let's be real about Blockbuster. How long were they around for? From the 1980s until what, the early 2000s? I'd say about 2005 is when you started going, Netflix. Blockbuster could have bought Netflix. That was around then. That's still a pretty good run. What, 20, 30 years? That's a pretty good run for a company. Kodak and Xerox had a lot longer than that. Anyway, switching gears over here. You know who may be having a longer run than they should be having, but should be shut down pretty soon? The fraudsters here in Washington. According to our friend Carlene Johnson over at the Center Square, many Washington State daycare providers receive large taxpayer subsidies, but an investigation by the Center Square found several that had few, if any, children, and at least one establishment that received hundreds of thousands of dollars, despite residents at the listed address indicating it was not a daycare. Listen to her report.
Is there a daycare that's operated from here? There's not a daycare? Oh, did you used to have a daycare here? No. Oh, none today? So I was trying to find out if this was a home daycare.
I don't have time to talk to you right now. I'm so busy.
I've not had a chance to take a look at that. I will after.
Hi. My name's Carlene. I'm a reporter. I'm trying to find out, is there a daycare here? We found millions in taxpayer dollars going to alleged home daycare providers across Washington state. But when we went to those addresses on multiple occasions, we found little to no evidence of daycare activity. In one case, a location that received more than $200,000 told us there was no daycare there at all. Was there a daycare, we asked, here in the past? The answer was no. Is there a daycare that's operated from here? No. There's not a daycare? No. Oh, did you used to have a daycare here? No. No? Okay. I was trying to find out if there was a daycare operation here. Huh? If there was a daycare here on this property. At this location, records show more than $200,000 in payments over 9 months. And updated figures on a government website show the facility is continuing in 2026 to receive monthly payments of between $20,000 and $28,000 just in the last few months. At another address receiving significant funding, we were told there were no children there that day. Oh, hi there. Hi, I'm a reporter. I have just been investigating some of the daycare operations in the area. Do you have a home daycare here? Huh? You do? Are you watching children today? Are you watching children today? Daycare here? Okay. There's kids here now? Oh, none today? But other days you do have kids here? At this address, 2 daycare providers using the same address received more than $1.3 million in taxpayer subsidies over a 9-month period. But when we visited, there were no visible signs of childcare activity. One of the daycares received on average more than $20,000 per month from December through March of 2026. The other childcare facility received anywhere from $72,000 to $122,000 between December of 2025 and March of 2026.
So raises to elected officials, even though they taxed the you-know-what out of all of us, wasn't enough. Now, we've got more of this fraud ongoing. And do you remember what our Attorney General, Nick Brown, said about this in December when Nick Shirley's, video came out. And when I started making the connections between all this and Jonathan Cho started making the connections and Carly Johnson started making all the connections, you remember what he said? Showing up on someone's porch, threatening or harassing them isn't an investigation. Time out. Did you hear Carly Johnson, all those? Carly Johnson is a great reporter, and she's a mom. She was very nice. She was very sweet. She didn't even, Nick Shirley, by the way, isn't even that aggressive when he shows up at these places. Carly's being very nice, very sweet, a lot nicer than the problem solvers or Jesse Jones or any of that kind of stuff when they used to show up places. But Nick Brown thinks it's threatening. Neither is filming minors who may be in the home. This is unsafe and potentially dangerous behavior. You know, Carlene could have said, oh, you are a daycare? Can I see the children? That'd be creepy. But she didn't do that. Instead, where's the playground? Where is the playground? Where are the toys? It's the middle of the summer. Where are the bathing suits drying on something outside? Where are all the sandals from running around in the kiddie pool? Where's the sprinkler? The little sprinkler out front. All the stuff that should be there if you're actually having an in-home daycare and trying to fill those hours. You know how I know? For years, my wife was a stay-at-home mom, and I would come home at the end of the day. And for just my 3 kids, what was there? Bathing suits on the porch when you walk in, sandals filled with sand on the front. And I'd always be like, sweetie, I know you just walked in. Can you go like clean all that stuff up and put it in the laundry? I'm like, I just got home from work. And she's like, I've been working all day, right? And she's right. She was dealing with the kids all day and I wasn't. And then you find the arts and crafts activities. And then there's the latest inflatable thing that you blew up in the backyard and the sprinkler thing and the toys and the mud tracked through the house. Those are signs of a daycare. Even if you just have children present. You know how you know there's no children present? When there's no signs of that during the summer. Empty sunscreen bottles scattered about. All of that should be chalk on the sidewalk. Minimum. Chalk on the sidewalk. Gives them something to do. But none of that is present. And yet we keep spending this money more and more and more and more. And Democrats refuse to do anything about it because they want to keep the grift going. They want to keep it going. Up next, my friends, young Zach will be joining us live from down near the World Cup. See what the patriotism is like today, just before kickoff. What's it called? It's not called kickoff. What do they do to start these games? We'll find out. We'll ask Zach when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. The Patriots are back in town, and I don't mean the football team. I mean all the USA chanting, freedom-loving Americans who are here to cheer on Team USA tonight in Seattle. Young Zach is down near the stadiums. Zach, what can you tell us about it today?
Ari, I literally have never seen anything that even comes close to this in the city in my entire life. This is incredible and insane, the amount of fans that are out here cheering on the U.S. They've been down here since, strong, since about 10:30. The energy that's been surrounding the stadium is almost identical to what it was after the U.S. beat Australia. This is incredible, the amount of people that have shown up, and it's like the 4th of July hasn't stopped, all right? They're draped in flags, there are stars and stripes as far as the eye can see. Belgium is nowhere to be seen. I don't know where the waffle makers are, but they're not here by the stadium. And hopefully they're not out there on the pitch, as it's called, either. This is really an incredible day, and of course the president got involved today also. The star player on the United States men's national team, Folarin Balogun, he got the red card in the last game, which would have made him ineligible to play today. Word on the street is, or I guess it's kind of been confirmed, that President Trump got a hold of Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president, and said, hey, why don't we look at that? And got that rescinded. So Folarin Balogun will play today, much to Belgium's dismay, and the European Union's soccer federation, I believe it's UEFA is it's called, and they are not happy, but I don't care.
So, wait a second. Let's discuss this little scandal for a minute. So everybody thought the guy didn't deserve to get a red card. But
yeah,
then
even the Europeans were like, that's messed up.
Right, but as soon as Trump makes a phone call, now they're all mad about it, right?
You got it.
Okay. Now, wait a second. Going with that, FIFA officials have been questioned a lot, and I keep thinking to myself, well, one of them at least was a terrorist who got stopped from coming into this country, so maybe they don't have the highest quality caliber of officials?
Allegedly, this official has been investigated in Brazil, I believe it is my understanding. This is a pretty shady situation. But, of course, Trump gets involved and everyone gets upset.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
Except for United States fans. I have seen, I'm not saying if you put a ballot in front of them today, it would go a certain way, but I'm saying it's better than it has been.
So are you saying that we should go down there and register voters? I think it's a missed opportunity for the GOP.
If Balogun gets the winning goal, I think we really should.
All right, Zach. So tell us more about while you're down there. The last time you were there, I think you said it seemed like it was a lot of people from out of town. What's it like this time? Is it a lot of people hopping on the bandwagon, which I'm fine with, by the way, for Team USA?
Well, yes and no. The difference here is that the stadium's been sold out for every game. It's the World Cup. The difference is outside the stadium. Everybody, we have the entire sister station, Northwest News Radio's down here broadcasting live. We have just so many people who are from the area who have just come to finally see what this is all about. The difference, I've kind of equated it to this too. When U.S. played Australia, it was as if it was just a stop on the tour of the World Cup, and World Cup fans came and people enjoyed it and it was fun, but there was just kind of like the U.S. and the World Cup is passing through. Today, this is the epicenter for the tournament. Keeping in mind, the United States is the only host country that still remains in the tournament. Mexico last night got kicked out of the tournament by England, and then Canada got shut out by Morocco. So the United States is, of the 3 host countries, the only ones still in the running for the title.
All right, Zach, we had a debate earlier on the show. It's not called kickoff when it starts. What's it called?
I believe it is.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's what the sign says in the stadium.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if they're footballs.
It's not a handoff.
That's a fair point. All right, Zach, today when I was driving in, I saw a guy painted head to toe in blue, one head to toe in red, and one head to toe in white. All jokes aside about the guy painted head to toe in white, what's the craziest outfit you've seen down there today?
I've seen some of those. It's really hard to pinpoint one particular person because everybody's dressed like that. It's not like some of the other matches where we remember when we were down there, and there was that one guy in the Pharaoh costume for Egypt.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, everybody is like that. I wore my 1994 Adidas World Cup jersey, the one from the last time the U.S. hosted the World Cup. I mean, good luck trying to spot me in the crowd. Everybody, it's as if we're in uniform. It's insane but really not much from Belgium. You know what, Ari? Every single day I've insisted that we call it soccer. Today, we're going to show the Europeans what Monday Night Football is about.
I love it. What a great line. Zach, just before we let you go, are the protest zones down there today?
Oh, give me a sec. Yes, they are. I'm in one right now.
Okay.
Hey, ho, ho. These Belgian waffles got to go. Hey, ho, ho.
So, Zach, are there any protesters aside from you being mad
No.
about the Belgian waffles?
Absolutely not.
Okay, haven't seen them at all today.
Oh, one guy had a sign that said "Free Bulligan," and I said they freed him already. He hadn't heard the news. He made a sign. He
Zach,
wanted to use it.
You crack me up. We'll try and check in with you later. Good luck down there. Good luck to Team USA. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really
Sounds
do
good.
appreciate
Go
it.
USA.
Go Team USA. By the way, I don't know if I told everybody this about when I was down there last time. So while I was down there, I go to use the bathrooms, the portable bathrooms that Katie Wilson put in down there. And I go up to one of them, and do you know who's there, Kevin? I don't know if I mentioned this to you. I go to one of the bathrooms, and it's a girl who's a friend with my son. She's friends with my son.
Yeah, you did
I
tell
did
me
tell
this.
you this. Okay, I didn't say it on air. I didn't want to get her in trouble, but now
Right.
the contract's over, so we don't have to worry about it, okay? So what's her summer job? Her summer job is being one of the attendants for the bathrooms for people who are too dumb to use their cell phones to get into the bathrooms. You have to use your cell phone, scan a QR code. It gives you a 10-minute time limit, and then you got to get out of there. Now, there's a few things I noticed about the portable bathrooms down near the World Cup. Number one, they are not self-cleaning. You know how I know this? There was a long line because one of them was being cleaned. If you mean self-cleaning by the fact that a dude shows up and cleans them, I think that's just cleaned and sanitized in between each use or whatever it is. But number two, Katie Wilson paid a couple $100,000 for each of these suckers, right? They are paying the attendants for the bathroom. $50 an hour on top of that. $50 an hour on top of that.
Yeah, I remember when you were telling us and several other people in the office, and we all decided that we wanted to quit our job and go down there and do that job. But I had to remind them that this is only going to be going on for the next few weeks.
Right,
so.
but can you imagine that summer job? You're down there, and at the end of the day, they're laughing all the way to the bank. The kids make $50 an hour for standing there and dealing with tourists and just swiping a card when their cell phone doesn't work.
I wonder what the actual title was of the job.
I would say, my guess. Here's my guess.
Toilet attendant?
No. You know what it would be? It would be brand ambassador.
There you go.
Brand ambassador
There you
for
go.
the porcelain god. Something of that nature. When we come back, my friends, looks like our friends in the Trump administration actually did something that I'm not really sure why they're doing it, because I happened to see the exhibit they're mad about in the Smithsonian yesterday. Tell you all about when the right gets it wrong when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I haven't been to the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. since my kids were little kids. And the last time I was there, the American History Museum was under construction. I didn't get to see anything in most of the exhibits. The Air and Space Museum was under construction. I didn't get to see anything in most of the exhibits. Now, this time I didn't get to go to the Air and Space Museum because they have this new timed entry business, and I didn't know that in advance. And the crowds were insane because it was July 4th weekend. But I did get to go to the National Gallery. That's one of the art museums. And I did get to go to the American History Museum. A new report from the White House claims that the Smithsonian Institution, especially singling out the National Museum of American History, is led by radicals intent on showing only the most difficult parts of American history for the purpose of devaluing the nation and demoralizing her citizens. The report is called Saving America's Story: How Ideological Capture at the Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of American History Erases Our Heritage. I was there yesterday. I didn't know this report existed, or I would have gone looking for things. But what was crazy was, yesterday, while I was there, I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is pretty balanced. Where's all the woke stuff I heard about? Now, for those of you who've never been to this museum before, it's got a whole section on the presidents. It has a whole section on the presidents. Pretty balanced, pretty fair. In fact, just as much Trump stuff as anybody else. The impeachment category talks about all the impeachments, not just Donald Trump. And in fact, his is one of the smallest parts of it. They talk about every part of the presidency you can. There's a section of all the gowns of the first ladies. I expected Michelle Obama's to be bronzed and in center display. Nope. You know who was in center display? Melania Trump's, the one she wore to the inauguration. In fact, there were 2 or 3 Melania dresses because she's the current first lady. And there was one Michelle Obama dress. One. Now, I know they have more in storage, but I'm saying for right now, they were prioritizing the person who's the president now. One thing that did throw me was that some of the display cases, when you first walk in, are in English and Spanish. And I go, why are they in Spanish? That I didn't really understand. And why did you pick Spanish as opposed to any other thing, especially when you list all these other brochures you could have in different languages? I don't know why they decided to spend the money on doing the Spanish translation. But the Museum of American History, I found it pretty fair. And I found it pretty optimistic about America. They even have a whole pop culture section. Kevin, you know what's on display there? They have Indiana Jones's full outfit. They have that. R2-D2 and C-3PO are right there when you walk in. The ones from Return of the Jedi, those. It was a great representation. I was mad that Rocky shorts weren't there. I know they have them and they come out sometimes. And I was mad that John McClane's undershirt wasn't there because I know it's there, but it wasn't out. I have to say, I didn't see anything woke in this museum at all. Now, where I did see the wokeness was over at the National Gallery. And you're going to go, Ari, what could be woke about art? It's just ships and people and all that. Okay. They had an exhibit on the American flag. And it wasn't the history of the American flag. It was the American flag as art. Okay, so right away I said, I know what I'm getting into here. A whole bunch of fortunate son display kind of thing. That's what I'm going to get. And when I walked into it, one of the pieces of art was blood dripping out of the American flag. And all right, guys. Okay, crazies. And there was a bunch of that and through conflict, and here's where people used it for. If you have an issue with wokeness, go check out that art museum. That's where all the wokeness was. At the American History Museum, I didn't see it. In fact, I saw the opposite. And mind you, was I looking for it based on this report? No. But I was looking for it, and I didn't see what you guys are talking about. Didn't see it at all. I saw the history of automobiles by GM. I saw ships. I don't know. Was there a lot of slavery stuff? A little bit more than I thought needed to be there. But I didn't think it was completely obvious that they were trying to hit you over the head with slavery. It's part of our history. If you guys had picked the art museum, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. All the woke stuff is everywhere. Completely agree with you. I didn't see it in the American History Museum. Now, if you've been there recently, tell me if you disagree. But for me, it's a great museum. It's a fun museum. And you could spend a week in the Smithsonian. You really, really could. I was sad I only got a couple hours in the American History Museum because I was in a rush to get to the airport for my flight that ended up being delayed by a gajillion hours. But I had a great time while they were there. I think the renovation is great. That place needed an update badly. I really thought it was a great experience. So I don't know what they're talking about, especially in a place that does such a good job with the Star-Spangled Banner. I really don't know what they were talking about. It was a great experience. Other museums, maybe. I'm upset I didn't get to see the Air and Space Museum, which is the most popular one, and hopefully next time I'll be able to go there. I did see the one out at Dulles the last time I was there, which is pretty awesome. But the Smithsonian itself, I think they may have cleaned up their act because they know who's in the White House. And I have to say, great experience, fun for all. If you're in town, check it out with your kids. Lots more to discuss during our final hour free-for-all when we come back, my friends, especially the difference between American exceptionalism and communism chaos. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, big announcement from Chuck Schumer about Graham Plattner, the Nazi tattoo sporting Senate candidate. We'll tell you all about that. But before we get to any of that, during the commercial break, the studio got buzzed by a bunch of fighter planes on its way to the stadium. I heard that growling noise on its way to the stadium, which means the World Cup is officially underway. The U.S. is taking on Belgium. As Zach said earlier, no more Belgium waffles. We're going to get updates from Zach throughout this hour of the score of the game. We're going to check in with him at 5:30 today. So you don't have to go watch the game. Besides, you don't need to watch the first half. You need to watch the second half of the game. So you wait till the show's over. But that flyover reminded me of what I saw in D.C. this weekend. So I walked out to the Marine Memorial, the one with them raising the flag over Iwo Jima, which was just, I'd actually never been there before. It was magnificent. For some reason, I thought it was smaller. And for some reason, I thought it was in D.C. proper. It's not. It's in Virginia. So I went out there and checked it out. It's magnificent and a great place to watch the fireworks. But while I'm out there, the air show is going on over D.C., and I love Seafair. I love Seafair. But this was like old school Seafair when they brought out all the good stuff, all the really great stuff. Here's what they had this year that I saw. So I got there around 4 o'clock, a little bit after 4, actually, probably closer to 5. So they say the Blue Angels were flying. I didn't see the Blue Angels. I think they were in New York. Maybe they dropped in D.C. for a little bit. I missed it, but there were these fighters all over the place that I couldn't see from while I was walking. But then after that, there was an F-35 flying around, and then the Thunderbirds came out. Now, the Thunderbirds are the Air Force's Blue Angels. And yes, I am saying that for a reason. I'm about to piss off all our Air Force veterans in the audience. Guys, the Blue Angels are better. Okay, I saw the show. Now, I've been watching the Blue Angels for probably most of my life. I've been watching the Blue Angels. And I got to tell you this, is that the Blue Angels and the Thunderbirds do a similar show. The Blue Angels do more. The Blue Angels do a lot more. And I think the Blue Angels are better. Sorry, favoritism. After that, they had a flyover of Air Force One, the old one. Then came a flyover of the Thunderbirds with the brand new Air Force One, the Qatari Air Force. It's magnificent. It is a magnificent looking airplane. It is awe-inspiring. It is beautiful. And the thousands of people who were around me cheered as it went overhead. And let me tell you something. It wasn't all people in MAGA hats, by the way. In fact, I'd say the MAGA hats were the minority of people who were there. I'm not saying the minority of people who were there, the minority were Republicans. I'm saying is like, it wasn't this huge MAGA crowd that was out there. It was just Americans out there. After that, and this was the coolest thing. So Air Force One, the first Air Force One, the old one goes by. Then the new one goes by with the Thunderbirds with it. Then it's a stealth bomber and a B-2 bomber and a B-1 bomber and an F-22 Raptor. And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. But the coolest part was actually right before the fireworks show. Trump finishes his speech, and we're not sure when the fireworks show is actually going to start. But all of a sudden, there's a roar, a crack in the sky. And it's dark out by this point because everything was delayed by the rain. And a B-1 bomber comes flying across with the afterburners flaring, lights up the sky, and then the fireworks start. Wow. Just wow. America has exceptionalism. Our air superiority, our military might like nothing the world has ever seen before. We did that so we could protect the world. How many countries have we saved? A friend of mine who was with us, when he was introducing himself to various people who were around where we were watching all this, he goes, especially the Europeans, he goes, did we save your ass or did we kick your ass? He was saying that to people. This friend of mine, he is 6'9". He is 6'9". Giant Jewish man. They don't make us that big usually. Giant man. And it was very entertaining when he was saying that to people. But all these people are there to celebrate America. We had this group of Canadians with us, how happy they were to be in America, how incredible it was, how they never seen anything like it before. They live in Canada. And you go, what's really the difference between America and Canada? Well, I got to tell you something, guys. We're not socialists. Canada's a bunch of socialists. And you know what? The members of the Democratic Socialists of America, they're not socialists either. They're jihadis, they're communists, they are Marxists. President Trump spoke before the fireworks and was absolutely destroying this communist takeover of the Democrat Party, these communists that are trying to take over the United States of America. Now, there were multiple parts of Trump's speech, but it was talking about American exceptionalism. He spoke about the men who served in World War II, and he brought some of them up on stage. He spoke about the American flag and the history of the American flag, and had some historic examples of the American flag up there on stage. He spoke about the Artemis astronauts. It was all about American exceptionalism. It's really a great speech, and the symbolism behind it is, we did all this because we're capitalists. We did all this because we're freedom-loving. You really want to go back to communism? At first, I said, you know what, do we really need to hear Trump speak? Do we really need a State of the Union before the fireworks display? But then I realized what he was doing. He was talking about American exceptionalism, and he was using the 4th of July to say, these communists aren't about exceptionalism. They're about destroying everything. They're about tearing everything down. We've had to save the world from communism multiple times. How'd that work out for the Soviet Union? How's it working out for Cuba? Not very well. Listen to what the president said in his speech.
Americans must never forget that we are a historic and heroic people with a heroic spirit and a heroic purpose on this beautiful earth of ours. We are made the courage and the fire and the flesh and the blood of the best and the bravest people this world has ever produced. We are the bravest and the best. Tonight we pledge allegiance to the flag they gave us, and we say, God bless the immortal patriots of 1776, and long live the cause of independence. May it reign forever and ever and ever. We will always be on top. We will never let our country fall. We will always be the best. Our founders not only won our liberty, they secured it with the most righteous political document ever conceived. It's called the Constitution of the United States. Very special. And it's because of their genius that we remain the finest people on the planet after 250 years. Unlike so many others in the world, in this country, we have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, equal justice under the law, although I wasn't treated that well, but we won't get into that. And the right to keep and bear arms.
Now, I'll say something else with this communist takeover that's going on. Listen to what they say, guys. They don't believe in freedom of religion. They don't like the Jews too much. They don't like the Christians too much. They don't like the Catholics too much. They don't like religion at all. And they're trying to take over the country. That's what they're trying to do. Oh, by the way, while I have your attention, for the lamestream media, who says nobody was at this thing, there were hundreds of thousands of people. It was so bad, I had to walk an hour to get there. I had to walk an hour to get home. Not only could you not find an Uber, find a scooter, find anything, the trains were all backed up, the buses were all backed up. It was faster to walk home, according to the GPS, than actually take mass transit. That's how many people were there. Hundreds of thousands of people in just the park I was in. Absolutely crazy. Here's what President Trump said about the flag.
From the beginning, we were a nation that lived by the motto, victory or death, and live free or die. 1 out of every 100 Americans gave their lives in the fight for independence to remind us of who these heroes were and what they gave us. We are honored to have here tonight, in the heart of our nation's capital, one of the very first American flags ever to exist. Dating back to 1777, it bears the 13 stars and 13 stripes of the 13 states that declared independence on the 4th of July. There it is. This was the flag that flew victorious at Saratoga. And these are the real deals, too. These are the real flags. These are flags that have seen a lot. These were the stars and stripes that flew triumphant when the British waved the white flag of surrender at Yorktown. That was a big surrender. Nobody thought that was possible. They were the greatest power of the world, and they surrendered, and that was the beginning. Ever since, the entire world has been on notice that Americans will never let anyone take our freedom away. Won't happen. And all these talks from the communists, they haven't got a chance. Not even a chance. We don't want communists in our country. Never worked, and it never will work.
I think one of the best parts was actually when he called out how there was a flag from Checkpoint Charlie right there at the Berlin Wall. Called out the flag from Checkpoint Charlie, which they had there as a historical monument to how much communism sucks. Let me ask you this. If communism's so great, how come people flee Cuba to come to the United States? You see anybody fleeing the United States to go to Cuba? You see that at all? Which side did everybody run to when the Berlin Wall fell? Which side was that? President Trump was talking about the communists and what they plan on doing to this country. But before he got into that, he said this, which I loved.
Across the generations, Americans have fought, bled, and died, not just to secure those rights, but to expand them to citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed, because we are one people. We are one family. You showed that tonight with one flag. And as our Declaration of Independence tells us, we are all made in the image of one almighty God.
Communists don't like God so much. Communists do everything they can to imprison people who like God. They don't like religion at all. So how do you swear an oath to uphold the Constitution? How do you swear an oath to protect the people of the United States? How? How? President Trump really slammed the communists, and he did a great job doing it. My favorite part is when he called the communists losers. That was great because the truth is, they are losers. Look at their country versus ours. Listen to what he said about them specifically.
And so hot and so great and such a great friend of, I don't say conservative, I say of common sense. He's not conservative or liberal or, as they say now, progressive. Liberal became so tarnished, but now it's communist. You know, they say social democrats. No, social democrat is a communist, all right, just so you know. There's no so. If you look at the people that are running, it's crazy what they're doing. But we'll never let that happen to this country. It can't happen to the country.
That's what he was saying earlier today when he was announcing the Trump accounts, when he officially rang the bell for the stock market to open for the Trump accounts today. He was repeating the same thing he said the other night, and this is going to be the Republicans' war cry heading into the midterms. It's not bad, but how many kids actually know what communism is? We have a problem with our educational system where the kids have been told, socialism is great, we're helping. That's what the kids have been taught in school. Socialism just hasn't been done right yet. America is evil. So the concern that I have is that these kids don't know what socialism is. These kids don't know what communism is. It seems like they know the Soviet Union may have fallen, but they don't know what it is. They don't know about the breadlines. They don't know about the awfulness, and they don't know that capitalism is what defeated communism. It wasn't the bombs. It wasn't anything else. It was us being tougher than them, being able to produce more than them, being able to spend more than them, and being able to have a better military than any of them because they were communists and didn't have the resources we did. We can accomplish anything in this country. We really, really can.
As we celebrate America's unmatched achievements and unlimited potential, we never forget that none of this would have been possible without those who gave everything so that we could reach this 250th year of freedom. We are honored to be joined by 11 Gold Star family members. The Gold Star family, that is one of the great tributes. It's one of the great honors, a tough honor. There's nothing tougher than that. But these are amazing people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Come on up. They went through a lot. Thank you very much. And that special person is looking up there and looking down at mom and dad, husband, wife, but they're looking down with great pride. You know that. You know that. And we want to thank you for being here. Thank you very much. And we have medals for you backstage. I brought them. I thought I'd be handing them out about 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. But we're going to be backstage, and we have beautiful medals for you, for your family, from the White House. Thank you very much, everybody. We love you. On this special 4th of July, we give you our undying gratitude and promise to redeem the sacrifice of your heroes by preserving the America that they loved. They loved our country. They sacrificed it all. And these people have sacrificed it all. They've been through hell. We love you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have to say, I think this was one of Trump's best speeches. I really do. If you're talking about Trump's all-time best speeches, this was definitely one of them. But when you draw the comparison between the British and the communists, it was glorious.
So on the eve of this 250th anniversary of American heritage, we resolve and swear for all to hear that the citizens of the United States of America will vanquish communism quickly. Don't let them take too much of your time. You know they're wasting your time, don't you? But we're not going to let them take too long or too much of our time as they play their games and send them into exile. We will send them quickly away, and we will continue to build our country bigger and better and stronger than ever before. America will never be a communist country.
I hope he's right. I really hope he's right. Because if it does become a communist country, it won't be one for long. Because communism just don't work out. And can you imagine the chaos in the rest of the world if America falls? I've never been so scared of the future of America as I am right now. It's not, oh, Democrats might win. It's no big deal. Democrats might win. Okay, things suck for a couple of years, and then Republicans win. This communist takeover is coordinated. This communist takeover is dangerous. And this communist takeover may destroy the greatest force for freedom and good the world has ever known. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Paul in Kirkland. Paul, what's up, man?
You know, the only true communism that I know of exists on a kibbutz in Israel. That's what true communism is. I don't know what you're talking about.
Paul.
No,
Ari.
Ari.
You got to stop, Paul, so I can talk and answer the dumb thing you just said or not? We doing that, Paul?
Let me hear your answer.
Okay.
Can you give me a single one sentence definition of socialism?
Okay, how about we do this, Paul? Name one place for me where communism or socialism has actually worked. If you want to call and just spew your nonsense on air, we can do that.
Okay.
But it's not that entertaining. It's just really, really not, Paul. I'm telling you that.
Boring conversation anyway.
I mean, what was the point of that?
Do you know what bothers me about that is that's not what he was coming on to say.
Yeah.
That's the most annoying thing about guys like that is like when they're coming on to say something and then they change it when they're on hold.
Right. He said, you had right here on the screen, he was coming on to talk about why he wasn't cheering for Team USA.
Yeah, he was already going to come on to say something dumb anyways.
Right.
But then he was like, let me find a way to say something even dumber.
Right. Okay, let's just address Paul's point for a minute because I don't like being interrupted when I'm talking. You want to argue with me, I'm more than happy to argue with you. Israel was actually founded as a communist place. Not communist, socialist. Socialism, the kibbutz movement, their economy was originally socialist. The kibbutz movement is a collective of people who live together on these communes and produce everything. Israel's economy collapsed in the 1980s because what was it based on? And since then, they've been working their way towards full capitalism. They were never communist. There was one communist kibbutz in Israel. Turns out it was a plant by the Soviet Union. Oh, and there was this guy I know who actually got kicked off of it because he was too lazy even for them. You know who that was? Bernie Sanders. So if Paul wants to come on and have a rational conversation rather than saying something completely fictitious about communism being how Israel was founded, which is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, be my guest. But guys, let this be a lesson for the future. If you want to come on and debate a topic, give us the topic. We'll be happy to debate it with you. We have done this many, many times. But if you come on the show to just spew your nonsense and then run, I got no appetite for that. I just don't. Checking in on the score of the World Cup. Looks like Belgium is in the lead by a score of 1-0. We will keep you updated with the score as the show continues, my friends. But up next, when we come back, Graham Plattner may be in huge trouble because it looks like Chuck Schumer and others are calling for him to step out of the race. Give you all the details on him when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. The U.S. is currently trailing Belgium by 1 goal in the, what quarter are we in? What period are we in? What thing are we in here? I can't tell. I'm not going to pretend I can. 25 minutes into the game. Kevin is monitoring it from his little booth over there. We'll bring you any score updates if you care about such things. Young Zach is going to be joining us from outside the stadium in our next segment, but it looks like we got some massive news for you right now. This, according to intrepid reporter Jessica Russack Hoffman over at the Jewish News Syndicate, apparently Chuck Schumer and Kristen Gillibrand have called on Graham Plattner to withdraw from the race following the bombshell allegations against him, which, by the way, at this point, are they really bombshell? So there's another woman he did awful things to. What is that, number 4, 5, 10, 20, 30? And this is a guy who's got a Nazi tattoo on. What is significant about Chuck Schumer calling on him to step down? Chuck Schumer endorsed him. And when Chuck Schumer was asked by the media, hey, dude, you're Jewish, right? You endorsed a guy with a Nazi tattoo? And he's like, yes. Yes, because beating Donald Trump is more important than anything else. Well, new allegations came out today from Politico. You would have thought the allegations in the New York Times would have been enough, but the New York Times kind of tried to downplay them a little bit. Politico went for the jugular. Politico, this woman came to them who not only said, here's what Graham Plattner did, but she had evidence to back up years of therapy for allegedly what Graham Plattner did. Other people who said, yeah, she talked to me about it, talked to me about it, talked to me about it. So what does this statement say from Senate Democrat leader Chuck Schumer and DSCC Chair Senator Kristen Gillibrand? The allegations reported today are incredibly disturbing. Violent abuse and sexual assault are absolutely unacceptable. Graham Plattner needs to immediately withdraw as the Democratic nominee for Senate and allow Maine Democrats the opportunity to choose a new... Hang on a second. You need to choose. Are you going to have a primary? Are you going to have a primary? Because you got like 6 days to have a primary. I think if they get a new candidate in there by July 13th, July 15th, then you can actually run a new candidate. You going to have a new primary? You going to send out new ballots? Is that something you going to be able to do that? They say the DSCC will not invest in the Maine Senate race if Plattner remains on the ballot. You know what I think is really going on here, my friends? I don't think it has anything to do with this Nazi tattoo. I don't think it has anything to do with the allegations of these women. I don't think it has anything to do with what he does in outhouses. I think it has everything to do with the fact that because of all those allegations, his fundraising has dried up. And nobody wants to give him money anymore. And now Democrats think they can't win. So because now the Democrats are not doing this on principle, they're going to try and hide and make it look like they're doing this on principle. But then my question is, why didn't you do it over the Nazi tattoo? Why didn't you do it over the first woman, the second woman, the third woman, the fourth woman, the fifth woman? Why didn't you do it over any of that? Why didn't you vet this guy? That's going to be my question. Instead, they're doing a Joe Biden to him. They're saying, this guy can't win. Let's replace him with somebody else who does. So you're going to appoint somebody and bypass the primary. Look, a couple 100,000 people voted for this dude. And yet you're going to say, nope, doesn't count. I don't think you should be allowed to take him off the ballot. What do you think? Should he be forced to stay on the ballot? Give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. This is what he said earlier today in response to the allegations.
So, regardless of the inaccuracy of the reporting, but mindful of the political reality it will inflict, we are taking the time to reflect on the best path forward.
Oh, stop. Taking the time to reflect on the best path forward? That means he canceled a whole bunch of campaign events this week. He canceled them. Reflect on, how do we spin this? What do we do when the Democrats are threatening to cut us off? We can't spend any more money. We'll be in debt. What do we do? What do we do? And this is a guy for months. He's been asked, is there another shoe that's going to drop? And said, no. Don't believe me? Here's a montage. You need a montage.
I'm wondering, are there other skeletons from your past that still may emerge in this race?
No.
But the GOP is going to dig up everything and more that they can.
Yeah, and probably lie at some point. I mean,
is there something new you want to get ahead of?
No.
People have to take you at your word that that's true and that there's nothing else. Is that what you are saying?
Yes.
So his fundraising is drying up. He's canceling campaign events because he can't afford to pay for them anymore, and he's going to drop out of the race. And the Democrats will just replace him with somebody else. So now that person is just going to be, well, you were just a replacement for this guy, and nobody actually selected you as the candidate. And Susan Collins is bringing all this money, and the Democrats, I don't think they can fix this race. I really don't think they can. I don't think they're going to be able to pull it out. So, anywho, I think this race is done, but don't count your chickens before they hatch. I think that at this point we have seen what the Democrats really are. No moral character whatsoever. They thought it was more important. They thought it was more important for them to take back the House and the Senate than say no to the guy with the Nazi tattoo, no to the guy who abuses women. Breaking news for you. Kevin just checked in. The U.S. has scored a goal. That's right, my friends. The U.S. has scored a goal. The score is now 1-1 in the World Cup. We will keep you updated on that as we continue. In fact, when we come back, my friends, more from young Zach, who is down at the stadium right now. Find out what the mood is like now that the U.S. is in this game. Tell you all about it, plus a whole lot more when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. The U.S. is currently trailing Belgium by a score of 2-1. Young Zach is down near the stadiums for us. Zach, what's the atmosphere like down there right now?
It was a little better 2 weeks ago, if I'm being honest with you. Before we went to break, when it was tied up at 1-1.
Yeah.
It was a little different. But it's still, I mean, the thing that's crazy is that no one has left. You know, the bowl since early this morning. There was a bit of a separation when the crowd that was going to the game went into the stadium, and then all the people who don't have a ticket and they're just hanging out, they're all still here. No one's left. These goals by Belgium haven't deflated the crowd, not even by a little. There's quite hundreds of people gathered over kind of in the north end over. They're looking in diagonally towards the Hawks Nest, the north end of the stadium, just trying to get a glimpse of the Jumbotron, just to peer into the stadium and get a glimpse of all the action, which is pretty incredible. There's been no match that even comes close to this as far as the excitement from the fans. Pretty incredible, pretty patriotic. Speaking of, there was a heck of a flyover with the F-15s going over Lumen Field down here, and then the national anthem, loud as ever. Then the TV broadcast, slightly delayed, and I turn around, and over here we're down at the Occidental Hall broadcasting live from outside, and I caught some youngins singing the national anthem at the top of their lungs, and then they saw our microphone and got really excited. I think we've got that audio. A soul over 30 in that crowd, Ari. I think the kids are going to be just fine.
Sounds like it. That flyover you mentioned before actually buzzed the studio. We don't normally hear the Blue Angels when they're here or anything. We heard those guys over the studio, so we knew the game was about to start. So you guys are over at Occidental Hall. Tell us about the environment there. Tell us what it's like. Tell us about the food.
Yeah, well, I haven't got a chance to get any food because the line is so long. There are so many people still waiting. The line's been outside, wrapped around. Oh, there's now a crowd. The line is so long, people are trying to get in to watch the game. There's now a crowd around my laptop as I try to watch the game. I keep tabs on it for, the news.
Well, Zach, I'll tell you.
So I haven't had a chance to get the food, but I have had it before, and I know it's very good.
I'll tell you this, Zach. We're losing you a little bit right now, so we're going to let you go. I'm going to try and come down after the show today and come see you guys. I'm going to try and get in there and maybe fight my way in because there's a KVI tent. You can tell it by the KVI tent, so I'll come on down there. Young Zach, thank you for the report. Really do appreciate it. I'll tell you guys, it's like the World Cup energy is truly there. Don't get mad at all the bandwagon fans. You say, thank God they want to be patriotic Americans. In fact, today with me, I brought my American flag sweatshirt. Now, I actually bought this thing in Seaside a few July 4ths ago. My wife is not normally down for the ridiculous shenanigans that I do with weird outfits. She actually went along with it when we bought the matching American flag sweatshirts for the 4th of July. I went a step further. I got the bathing suit. That's right, my friends. I was fully patriotic. I was Mr. America. I was today. I might even say Captain America. Oh, you know, it was in the Smithsonian, Kevin, when I was there yesterday. This is you want to feel really old? Captain America's shield from the Marvel movie. That is now there with the pop culture stuff.
Not from the 1991.
That terrible, awful, horrible, no good, very bad Captain America that wasn't even released in theaters. They advertised it was coming to theaters, and then that was a straight to VHS classic.
Correct.
God, that was terrible. And like the weird politician guy who's the Red Skull. It was awful. That was unwatchable. Garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, just terrible. Okay.
So how long ago was that now? 2012 or something? Is that when it is?
Captain America. Oh
no, Captain America. That's right.
Captain America must have been, 2010?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and don't forget, he was the last of the Avengers that got his own solo movie of the original core. Then you had the Avengers. Man, that's kind of crazy. But anyway, his shield is sitting right there with other Americana, so that was all good stuff. Now, meanwhile, as much fun as the World Cup is, not everybody's thrilled about what's going on. In fact, this thing is having a bad impact on some local businesses. Because it turns out Katie Wilson has sent a whole bunch of the drug addicts over to Chinatown. And now it's worse than it's ever been. This is Vince. He posted this video to social media. He owns a bake shop down there. Listen to what he said and listen to his language where you could tell he's probably a guy who doesn't listen to the Ari Hoffman show.
I think the World Cup games in Seattle caused my business to have the worst sales day that it's ever had. Hey, it's Vince. I run a Vietnamese American bake shop in Seattle where I share my shelves with other local Asian American bakers, and I don't normally make videos like this. The World Cup is happening in Seattle right now, and for months, the city, universities, every nonprofit under the sun has been urging us business owners to prep like crazy. They want us to staff up, overstock, and ramp up production because we're going to see crushing loads of visitors. And businesses located in the International District, which, hello, were particularly urged to prepare. We're only about a half a mile away from the stadiums. It's like a 10-minute walk. Now, I think I was already skeptical about this because I think there's very little overlap between sports tourism and culturally specific, culturally resident businesses. Bars? Absolutely. Fast casual American food like pizza and burgers? Slam dunk. Other party hangouts? For sure. But for me, a business whose literal value proposition is to uplift local bakers, local people from the local area, I never stood a chance, y'all. And many other business owners around me who are way more seasoned, who've survived for decades, were unfazed. They didn't even bother showing up to all the prep meetings, which I probably should have taken as a sign. But today, my business had the worst sales day of my entire life, including when I was a pop-up. Now, I don't know anything, but it feels like the wild, aggressive energy of sports tourism repels locals. The people who live here, who work here, who play here, like the people I thought we cared about. And sure, downtown looks nice now that we've relocated all the unhoused to Little Saigon, a place that the tourists are never going to see. Now that the streets are nice and clean, now that there's public bathrooms sprouting out everywhere easily like mushrooms, even though that's everything that all urbanists have asked for decades. Downtown becomes a thing that locals, real people who live here, want to stay as far away from as possible. I'm frustrated because today really sucked. And talking to many other business owners in the International District, it really hurt for them too. Can you imagine if I had done all the prep that everyone urged me to do? If I had hired extra people and actually prepped extra? And this is supposed to be the best match that Seattle has? Give me a break. Tomorrow, I'll still be the happiest guy you'll meet in the International District. But if you see just a slight bit of hesitation around my eyes, just know that it's probably not a trick of the light.
So Katie Wilson said she was going to send more police to deal with what was going on in the International District in Chinatown, and she didn't do it. She sent a cop for one day. In the meantime, she dumped all the homeless people from Soto, from downtown, from Georgetown, from the stadiums, into Chinatown to make matters worse. That's what she did. I don't think she recovers from this because you know what's going to happen in the city after the World Cup is over. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines put a smile in your face. Heading into your commute to deal with all that World Cup traffic. That should be exciting, too. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And first, big shout out to Kevin for putting up with me while I was gone and putting all the audio together and everything else like that, because on Thursday it was rough. I was really having a hard time uploading everything, and I was driving from location to location to location. I was cutting it really, really close to showtime, getting Kevin all the audio we needed with all the interviews and stuff. So Kevin really did a phenomenal job with that.
Oh, you're under the impression that your show ran? Oh, I'm sorry. We just did Extra Del Walmsley.
Oh, yeah, we just ran that. Great. Also, a reminder, my friends, for those of you who may not have been around last week, you get an extra bonus hour of the Ari Hoffman Show. The Ari Hoffman Show Reloaded, which comes on right after this. It's going to be some of the content you might have missed earlier. So it's going to be all fresh content from today. It ran earlier today. You get to catch that right after the Ari Hoffman Show. Then right after that, you get Mark Levin. So no more advertising, no more stock tips, no more housing stuff. You get full conservative talk radio 24 hours a day right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I did like this clip that our friend Scott Carty over from Northwest News Radio gave us a little bit earlier today about the march to the stadium when he was heading on down there for the game. Give a listen.
Ari, I am in the march to the match. We just made it to Yesler, and we're going into Pioneer Square, getting ever closer to Seattle Stadium. We are just surrounded in red, white, and blue. People are waving their flags, constant chants of USA bursting out. America, the beautiful, the Star-Spangled Banner, you name it. It's surely a continuation of the 4th of July, and the fans are just having a great time. It is families of all ages. I talked to one little guy who's going to his very first soccer game ever, and this is it. I asked Dad if he had any money left for college, and he said, nope, but it's all about experiences. In Seattle, in the parade, Scott Carty.
I gotta say, that kind of I love that kind of stuff. And I love when we're seeing that kind of stuff as opposed to the parades and protests we usually see here. Now, I did see this, by the way. This comes to us from our friends Not the Bee. That's the real news source for the Babylon Bee. And this was on July 4th. They posted this. The number of existing Exeter copies of the Declaration of Independence just jumped from 10 to 11, thanks to a discovery by a UK archivist going through some paperwork from an 18th century Royal Navy captain. According to the AP, they are attached to the report on a capture of American privateer Dalton on Christmas Eve 1776 was an enclosure identified only as another paper. Carefully unfolding the document, Skur stopped when he saw the word Declaration printed across the top. I thought, oh, right, okay, this is definitely a Declaration of Independence, he told the Associated Press. How exciting is this? He said it was a rare copy, too. It is just one of 11 original copies of the so-called Exeter printing of the Declaration that are known to exist, and the only one identified outside the United States. This version was printed in Exeter, New Hampshire, July 16th to 19th, 1776. The Dalton was an 18-gun, privately owned vessel that fought under the authority of the Continental Congress with orders signed by John Hancock. The copy of the Declaration was part of those orders, read aloud to the men to let them know what they were fighting for. The ship was captured off the coast of Portugal during Christmas of 1776, and its 120-man crew was imprisoned for 2 years. The National Archives unveiled the document just days before the 250th anniversary of its adoption. So yesterday, I'm actually walking down the main drag near the mall, and we're going to the museums, but across from the museums is the National Archives. And as I'm walking out towards the American History Museum, I say to my wife, hey, sweetie, there's like no line over at the National Archives. Maybe we should just go see the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution on our way back. Stupid Hoffman. Should have gone when there was no line. Because what happens when we come back? Lines wrapping around the block. Man, that was such a mistake. I've seen it before, but they said they had an original copy on display. They don't always have an original copy on display. As you well know from the movie, you had to make sure it was the original that was on display because otherwise Nicolas Cage wouldn't have to steal that sucker. Right. Anywho, line wrapping around the block. You know what else was there? Tons of merch tents for America 250 and Trump merch tents. I saw something I had never seen before, and this was the Trumpinator T-shirt. It's him holding a Declaration of Independence with the sunglasses. I don't know how I ever missed that one before. But you know what was really nice was all the museums in the Smithsonian were selling America 250 gear. So for everybody who's saying, oh, this is Trump's thing, this isn't America celebrating anything, guys, it's not like there was Trump merch all over the State Fair, the Great American State Fair. I didn't see that stuff everywhere. In fact, I saw no mention of Trump whatsoever. It was just a great fair. It really was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun being out there. Plus, I think I lost like 5 or 6 pounds because walking all that in heat every single day. You know the worst thing, when we had to go to the Great American State Fair, they gave us the wrong entrance, and it was on the other side of the mall. If you haven't been to Washington, D.C. before, the mall is the big grassy area where all the museums and monuments are, smack dab in the middle. Those blocks, it's only like 4 blocks from here. Those blocks are like a mile long, every single one of them, and the heat is ridiculous. Holy cow. I'm glad to be back here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm never going to the East Coast again for July 4th if I can avoid it. I'm going to stay right here in Seattle. I'm going to watch the fireworks locally, maybe even at Gasworks Park, because while that was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, while the fireworks were spectacular and wonderful and amazing and the flyovers were great, the heat. Holy cow, I've never had so much water in my life just trying to stay alive. That was very, very intense. That's going to do it for us today, my friends. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests. Go Team USA. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.